It's 10:30 AM on the morning of Thursday the 8th of December 2005 and we're in Westminster for the penultimate day of crewed buses in London. Routemaster operations on Route 159. Here is RML 2572 heading south, whilst heading north is Arriva's red RMC 1453, one of the numerous guest buses out today. A minute or two later and we have another guest bus in the form of RLH 61. Closely followed by RM346. Guest bus RML 2278 was preceding RTW 467 and RLH 61 around Parliament Square. RML 2307 was held in traffic shortly ahead of Ensign's RMA 58. A short distance behind was Craven-bodied RT 1431. This took us to Brixton, passing RML 898 en route. RML 898 had visited San Francisco in November 1962. At the Brixton coffee stop we saw RMLs 2586, 2521 and 2549 all heading south. Whilst northbound we saw RML 2636. The next bus was the immaculate RML 2760, the last Routemaster to be built. Then RML 2752 southbound and RML 2577 northbound. Also northbound was the oldest remaining service bus, RM29, with an almost as old RM54 heading towards Streatham. Then a northbound guest bus in the form of RT3062, the last Saunders-bodied RT owned by London Transport. A major surprise was to see RM1 at the southbound stop. And this was followed by Blue Triangle's RTW 75. And normal service bus RML 2375, one of Brixton's full complement of Iveco engined vehicles. An unscheduled visitor was RM 1878, until recently a playbus for the London Borough of Wandsworth. Yellow-banded RM1312 southbound and RM349 northbound passed each other outside Lambeth Town Hall. RM349 is now privately owned by a timber merchant in Croydon. Although built in 1962, RMF 1254 appeared on only its second ever day in London service. Another southbound bus was RML 2307. The former Metroline Cummins-engined RML 2620 raced through, followed at a more sedate pace by another ex-Metroline Cummins-engined bus in the form of RML 2727, now repainted into original LT livery. Also southbound was numerically the last of the Green Line Routemasters, RCL 2260. Now owned and superbly restored by Blue Triangle. Moving to a point south of Lambeth Town Hall, tired-looking RM548 and RML 2586 were heading north, as was RML 2521. Moving to the southern end of the Brixton one-way system, RML 2545 began its journey up the long Brixton Hill. Next to arrive was southbound RM1, heading for Marble Arch. This was followed by RML 2549. The oldest vehicle to put in an appearance today was open staircased ST922, dating from 1930. This bus retains a petrol engine, giving it a remarkable turn of speed. Thundering along towards the bottom of Brixton Hill was RML 2752, one of the last Routemasters to be built way back in 1967. Just about to ascend Brixton Hill was RM 1292, closely followed by a Reaver's own preserve vehicle, RMC 1453, which took us to Brixton Garage. Whilst on board we passed RTW 75, an unidentifiable service bus and RM 613. Opposite Brixton Garage stood RM 1312, unmistakable with its yellow band, and Ensign's former Romford Green Line RT 3232. RMC 1453 turned into Brixton Garage, closely watched by hordes of Anorakers, one even in London Transport colours. RML 2573 also turned into Brixton Garage just before guest bus RM 1859 in Reading mainline colours went past. On the other side of the road, RT 3232 departed and RTW 467 arrived. Way back in the early hours of the 15th of May 1966, RTW 467 had been the last RTW in passenger service. This was on Route 95 and also terminated at Brixton Garage. Another arrival was privately owned RML 2278, heading on past the garage for Streatham. Meanwhile, the ranks of the Anorakers were growing, and watching RML 2307 having to reverse in order to pass a newer parked bus. No, Routemaster going backwards. Privately owned RML 2565 arrived in Stratford Blue livery, although no Routemaster was ever in service with that company. The former Metroline RML 2727 kindly took us back down Streatham Hill to Brixton, behind a newer bus on Route 333. With just a glimpse of guests RML 2760 and RM 349 heading southbound. Back at the Brixton one-way system, we just catch a glimpse of RM 29 before RM 85 appears. Closely followed by Metrobus's green RML 2317 and RT 3871. Northbound, RM 1292 heads towards Lambeth Town Hall. Arriva's Golden Jubilee liveried RM complete with Michelin Man on the platform runs ahead of RM 1145 through the one-way system. Another surprise, RM 613 arrived back at the one-way system. RM5 preceded another guest vehicle in the form of ex-Henson Dorset's Bristol K5G TD895. This bus had been loaned to LT during 1948 at a time of serious vehicle availability shortage. Its Gardner engine sounded most un-London-like. Immaculate RML 2760 is now preserved by Stagecoach in original London Transport livery. This bus retains an AEC engine. With hunger setting in, a northbound ride was taken on RML 2324, another Iveco engine example of the Routemaster fleet. En route, we saw Stagecoach's predominantly white RML 2665 as we passed Brixton Station. It is rumoured that this bus will shortly be repainted into red livery. Caught in a line of traffic was RML 2366, and shortly behind it RT 624. Approaching the traffic signal junction were RMLs 2636 with a silver panel in the roof and RML 2577. Further north we encountered RT 1702. Then RM 29. Along Kennington Park Road we encountered RML 2307 and RML 2586.
Sorry, you're disqualified.
Turning into Kennington Road, RT 3062 was loading up. Further along, we passed southbound guest bus RML 2364.
There's a London Electric Railway station over there.
Having passed through the Lambeth North Junction into Westminster Bridge Road, we saw RM 346 southbound and RM 85 northbound. Having had lunch, we moved down the Lambeth Palace Road Junction to see RML 2572 turning onto Westminster Bridge. RM 1292 passed County Hall southbound shortly before RML 2760. Also heading southbound was RM346, whilst northbound, fully laden RT624 sedately crossed the bridge. RT624 had been the last RT in service on the 7th of April 1979 at Barking. The bus had been recovered from a Midlands museum and only passed its MOT yesterday. RM1145 trickled southbound very slowly. Big Ben struck 3 PM before RT3062 raced northbound, followed by RML 2521, RML 2307 and RM548. Then it was the turn of RM29, before guest bus RM613 crossed southbound. After another long pause, buyback bus RM713 also headed south. The unfamiliar roar of a Gardner engine propelled TD895 into Parliament Square, just as RML 2619 passed in the opposite direction. We reached Whitehall in time to see guest bus RML 2317, complete with white roundel, heading for Trafalgar Square. Moving out of Whitehall was RML 2278, with the later coloured London buses roundel. Behind one of London Central's bendy buses was RML 892, which was held at the traffic signals for some time. Across Whitehall, TD895 exited from Parliament Square, passing Blue Triangle's RT3871 in the opposite direction. RM29 hid behind a much newer bus. Ensign's RCL 2260 looked magnificent as it came out of Parliament Square into Whitehall. Another southbound bus was RML 2636, whilst northbound ST922 also exited from Parliament Square. A Brentwood Coaches Leyland Leopard preceded Arriva's Gold RM6. And this was followed by RML 2549. Here we go. Yet another surprise was another Gold Arriva bus in the form of RML 2405, making a remarkable contrast with RM 2097 opposite. The Gold RML took us to Regent Street, where we made a dash to catch RT624 for a return journey to Brixton Garage. The long run up Streatham Hill proved too much for the fully laden bus, which had to curtail its Streatham-bound journey at Brixton Garage amidst a cloud of steam. In the darkness, RM6 arrived and RT624 was taken into Brixton Garage. Meanwhile, RT3062 headed north as Arriva's preserved AEC engined RM5 arrived to take us back to Brixton Station at the end of a memorable day.